Hi everyone, Morgan Cooper here. I founded Living Out Loud and created the Inner Armor exercise. I just wanted to pass on a few tips and strategies on how to get the most out of the Inner Armor experience. First, I will go through the exercise itself. It's very simple. It's not a complex exercise. And then we'll look back on that process and I'll pass on some tips and strategies. So the first thing we want the participant to do is select a word that they feel describes them. So, and that you put that in the I am. There's a little line there that says I am. So I am strong, I am kind, I am loving, I am helpful, whichever word they feel describes them. Now, because when we ask them that question, we don't know if they believe themselves to be those things, or if they are maybe characteristics that they would like to have, or possibly, certainly if they have low self-esteem, those might be characteristics that they feel they don't have, or they know they don't have from their perspective. So the next thing we want them to do is to provide evidence, to provide proof of specific activities of when they demonstrated that characteristic. So I am kind. I know this because when my friend fell down in the schoolyard, I helped her get a Band-Aid, right? A specific example of when the participant showed that they were kind. And then what we want to do is have them provide a second example to really firm up that I am this characteristic and I know it to be true. And having two I know this because statements really takes any question out of the participant's mind that yes, you are that characteristic, that positive characteristic. So that's the exercise is I am and insert a characteristic. And I know this because insert an example, and I know this because a second time. And you go through that 6 times. I should say I provide 6 spots, but for sure, if a participant is excited and they get on a roll, then allow them to keep going. And just either start a new page or photocopy your page. I can certainly send you more pages. You get the idea. So although it's not a complex exercise, it is a vulnerable exercise. So we want to make sure that whoever's being asked to be vulnerable feels safe. For some, that might be in a room by themselves with a counselor, a teacher, an older sibling, just kind of a one-on-one situation. For others, it might be a small group or with a best friend. You're going to have to feel out what is appropriate for each participant. The second thing we want to do is make sure you enjoy the conversation. So although there are lots of people who will be able to, even students who will be able to read the instructions and complete the exercise all by themselves, the idea is to engage in conversation. And many of the parents have come back to say, I didn't know that they'd had this experience or that experience. They were quite surprised with what their child came forward with, and they really appreciated that. So that's another value to the experience is make sure you have a conversation. The third point is this is not a spelling exercise. This is not a how do you complete a properly structured sentence exercise. We don't want the participant to feel inhibited by their skill. So if that means scribing for someone or letting them draw pictures instead of using words, I also have the whole inner armor process is available as a like a digital PDF filler, like fillable form. So you can just let me know if you'd like it in that format. So for students who are technology dependent or are just more comfortable using an iPad, a voice to text or whatever, we have that option for them. So we want to make sure that they feel safe and free to share whatever example it is that comes to mind for them and not feel restricted. The third part, and this is probably the most important, is to not help them. So the first couple of times that they complete the I am, and I know this because, and I know this because, it's uncomfortable and it's tricky because we're not really socialized to think positively about ourselves or certainly talk about, toot our own horn, so to speak. So it can take a few uncomfortable moments and embarrassing moments while they start thinking of these examples and speaking about themselves in a positive light, but it does get easier, and they often start to quite enjoy it because it's an opportunity to feel good about yourself, and it's being documented, right? So the Students who really can't come up with examples of when they are each of these things. So they have probably very low self-esteem. So they might put kind. If they don't believe themselves to be kind, they will not be able to come up with any examples. Try your best to not give them hints or, no, you are kind. Remember when you did this, this, and this. Because we are trying to teach them or train them to recognize their own behavior out in the wild, out in, on a daily basis. If we feed them too many samples, what we're really saying is, this is why I know you're kind, because I saw you do this. That's not the same as them recognizing themselves as being that positive attribute. So if a student can't fill in either one, maybe they can just come up with one I know this because statement, they can't come up with two, maybe they can't come up with any, that's fine. Leave the characteristic, the I am that they chose, leave it in that space, and just leave the other two spaces blank. Because now that they've kind of brought in a bit of awareness to recognizing their behavior, they might come in from recess and say, I did this, or can I add to my inner armor? And other students can contribute. So even after the exercise is completed, have the books available for students, peers, yourself, to always add to the inner armor document, because it becomes a live web of self-esteem, of pride, of recognizing your own and others' positive behavior throughout the day. Maybe that was it. Was that two together? Don't help. It's really hard. Don't help best you can. And incomplete is still complete. So the point is to not fill the page. If they're struggling, they're just entering this this awareness of perceiving themselves out and about, and they can build on it. And if you need to, if they're really struggling, put the I am kind, leave it blank, but maybe you can manufacture some instances. Maybe you can give them an errand or something like that. And just at first, give them a little crutch when they come back. Did you see that? Let's add it to your inner armor. And then they'll start to get on a roll and they'll start completing it themselves. So that's the inner armor exercise. It can be quite fun. And a lot of parents and educators came back with feedback that the person that they were helping or helping to facilitate or going through it with actually stood taller, right? Like they never thought of themselves in that way, and they enjoyed feeling good about themselves, which I think is really, really powerful and exciting about the power of building a secure inner armor. So that's step 2 of the 3 steps of the inner armor process. I will do one more short video to cover step 3, which is the maintaining of the inner armor. If you have any questions at all, please visit the website. You can certainly email me, morgan@livingoutloud.education. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you so much. Enjoy, have fun, take care.